Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Monday, the 5th of January. You're tuned in to our mid-morning newscast here on ARIRANG TV. Thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. North Korea denies any involvement in the Sony Pictures hack and accuses Washington of stirring up hostility. Pyongyang says the move will only harden its will to defend itself. The Japanese government releases yet another video that makes fresh territorial claims to the Korea-controlled Dokdo Island. Japan is also eyeing natural resources in the East Sea. Plus, search teams recover 4 more bodies from the Java Sea as the hunt to find the main wreckage of the AirAsia crash enters a second week. We begin with North Korea's sharp rebuke of the United States after Washington slapped new sanctions on the regime for its alleged cyber attack on Sony Pictures. And while North Korea is furious, its anger is only being directed at the US, not South Korea, watchers say. The change in tone towards Seoul means the North is probably serious about wanting to reopen high-level dialogue with the South. Our Hwang Jie has the details.
North Korea denounced the U.S. on Sunday for imposing more sanctions on Pyongyang in the wake of a cyber attack on Sony Pictures. U.S. President Barack Obama authorized the new sanctions as the administration believes the hacking attack was conducted by the North. The Korean Central News Agency said that the fresh sanctions are proof of Washington's hostility toward Pyongyang. It added that the sanctions would solidify the North's resolve to strengthen its military-first policy. Pundits say, however, the North's comments reflect its sense of crisis.
North Korea is trying to develop its economy by attracting foreign capital, and to do so, it's announcing the creation of special economic zones. But the new U.S. sanctions will make it harder for foreign investors to go to North Korea.
The North's tone, however, was drastically different towards South Korea. Pyongyang's main newspaper, the Nodongshinmun, reported no criticism of the South on Sunday, even on the 6th page of the newspaper, which usually prints feisty remarks against Seoul. North Korea's main propaganda website, 우리민족끼리, also said Sunday that both Seoul and Pyongyang should work together to open up a way for an independent unification of the two Koreas.
By improving relations with South Korea, North Korea wants to show that the U.S. sanctions will be ineffective.
Pundits add the change in attitude also reflects the North's willingness to revive inter-Korean dialogue and to create an atmosphere for the talks. They say North Korea could propose a new form of dialogue as early as this week. Hwang Jie, ARIRANG News.
Japan is upping its campaign of territorial claims on Korea's Dokdo Island. In its latest video uploaded onto YouTube, Tokyo once again makes erroneous claims that the islets are part of Japan. This comes as Japan is poised to expand an investigation on developing energy sources in the East Sea. Now, Son Jung-in has the details.
This is a video released by the Japanese government titled "Islands Once the Home of Mechi or Sea Lions." The author of a book with the same title teaches elementary school students that Korea's easternmost islets of Dokdo, Takeshima as it's known in Japan, was the habitat of sea lions where Japanese fishermen used to catch fish.
Children playing with sea lions dreamed of becoming a fisherman so they could catch fish in Takeshima.
The 17-minute-long video was uploaded onto YouTube by an office affiliated to the Japanese cabinet. It will be used as elementary school material to teach children that Dokdo is Japanese territory.
Japan's Takeshima is waiting for us beyond the waves.
The Japanese government has been intensifying its history distortion by making unjustified claims to Dokdo. In 2013, Tokyo distributed a video claiming sovereignty over Korea's islets, and last year it stated in elementary school textbooks that Korea is illegally occupying the territory.
In 1905, the Japanese government reaffirmed its intention to claim sovereignty over Takeshima by a cabinet decision.
It's not stopping there either. Along with its persistent promotional activities, Japan is also aiming to secure the abundant resources the islets offer. Tokyo plans to invest some $18 million to carry out research on methane hydrate in the East Sea. Studies suggest some 600 million tons of the future energy resource is located around Dokdo. 손정인, ARIRANG News.
Now, frosty diplomatic relations between Korea and Japan over issues such as Dokdo are starting to take a toll on one of their few remaining healthy areas of exchange. In recent months, cultural exchanges between the two countries have really started to dry up. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Japanese colonization of Korea ended in 1945, but it wasn't until 1998 that the country decided to open its doors to cultural exports from Japan. There was general fear that Japanese culture would again dominate Korean society, but in fact, the move benefited Korea's entertainment industry as Korean TV dramas and music gained popularity in Japan. But recent territorial and historical disputes between the two countries are putting a damper on those exchanges.
Cultural exchanges between Korea and Japan are not properly taking place as it used to because of heightened tensions induced by Tokyo's aggressive attitude towards Korean culture.
And the breakdown in cultural ties between Seoul and Tokyo is only getting worse. Prime example of this was when iconic Korean singer Lee Seung-chul was denied entry to Japan last November. Japanese officials at the time said the decision to reject Lee was due to his use of marijuana some 20 years ago. But Lee's agency argued that the refusal had more to do with a concert he performed on Korea's easternmost Dokdo Island, which Japan also claims as part of its territory. The Hallyu or Korean wave is estimated to have brought in more than $65 million from Japan in 2008. But the amount started to decline in 2010 to just over $50 million, marking the first drop in 6 years. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
A Korean healthcare worker exposed to the Ebola virus while treating a patient in Sierra Leone has tested negative in an initial blood test. The medic, whose identity remains confidential, was flown to a hospital in Berlin over the weekend. This person has yet to show any symptoms of the virus, but will remain under observation for 3 weeks, which is the incubation period for the virus. The worker suffered an injury with a hypodermic needle while collecting blood from an Ebola patient in Sierra Leone. Korea's foreign ministry says it will stay in close consultation with the hospital in Berlin and the German government while the patient is in hospital. Seoul plans on sending an additional 20 medical workers to the West African country in the coming months. A Korean satellite that was on a crash course with a piece of space debris has avoided what could have been really a potentially devastating collision. Officials from the Science Ministry and the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology said they successfully communicated with the Science and Technology Satellite 3 on Sunday night and confirmed it was working normally. Late last week, the United States warned Korea that the satellite could hit a small piece of debris that was produced after a Russian and a US satellite crashed into one another back in 2009. Officials say they changed the satellite's altitude to ensure it avoided the debris. The Korean satellite, launched back in November 2013, is used to forecast geological events. So we are entering week 2 of the search efforts for the missing AirAsia plane that disappeared over the Java Sea 9 days ago now. It was less than 1 hour into its flight when it went down. For more, we're going to turn to Eunice Kim at the News Centre. Hello, Eunice.
Hi, Mark.
So the biggest issue really now facing the search teams there in the Java Sea continues to be the weather in that area.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The weather and the tough conditions that come with it. Authorities said divers had zero visibility underwater on Sunday, leading to the early suspension of the salvage operations there. Divers did, however, manage to recover 4 more bodies on Sunday, bringing that count to 34. Recovery teams hope to re-enter the Java Sea agency later today to locate the plane's fuselage, where most of the 128 people still unaccounted for are believed to be. While they'll need to locate the black box to determine the cause of the plane's downage, Indonesia's weather agency did indicate the plane's engine may have stalled due to icy conditions in the air, citing initial analysis. Sonar technology also spotted large pieces of presumed wreckage, some measuring 18 meters long, and head of the country's search and rescue agency said the search area, some 90 nautical miles off the coast of Borneo Island, is being extended to the east, considering the movement of ocean currents.
And Eunice, there are also reports that AirAsia wasn't even supposed to be in the air, authorized to fly on that Surabaya to Singapore route on that Sunday. What more do we know about this?
Sure, that is what Indonesian officials had indicated to various foreign media, that AirAsia was not supposed to fly that route on Sundays, though it was clear to do so on 4 other days of the week, that is on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And according to the Wall Street Journal, this was because they wanted to limit the number of flights to Singapore as Indonesia was nearing its quota. Now, AirAsia has said it will fully comply with investigations on this matter.
Okay, Eunice, well, let's turn our attention to the Vatican now. Big news out of there over the weekend because Pope Francis has named a bunch of new cardinals who will advise him, and many will have a hand in electing his successor as well. And quite notably, quite a few of these new cardinals hail from developing countries.
Yeah, you're right. Myanmar, Tonga, and Cape Verde saw their clergy named to cardinal posts for the first time ever. And there were appointees from New Zealand, Ethiopia, and Panama as well, meaning this round of 20 new cardinals represented nearly every continent on the globe, save for Antarctica. At St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis said the group of 20, 15 of whom are younger than 80, that's eligible to vote for the next pontiff, showed the inseparable tie with the Church of Rome to churches in the world. Now, it is being viewed as yet another move by the Argentine-born pontiff to establish a new identity for the Catholic Church, including its hierarchy. The nominees will be formally installed on February 14th, but not before sitting cardinals meet to discuss reform of the Vatican's administrative body, the Roman Curia.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Eunice, for those reports, and we'll see you back again at noon Korea time.
See you then.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. Now to some mixed signals from the nation's job market. The number of new jobs created in Korea last year reached its highest point in 12 years, but the quality of opportunities appears to be going downhill. Statistics Korea says that an average of 543,000 new jobs were created every month between January and November 2014, and that's the highest figure since 2002. Korea's employment rate is also expected, when December's figures are added together, to increase from 64.4% in 2013 to more than 65% last year. Now, while the number of new jobs has risen, the overall standard and quality hasn't. Young people in their 20s and 30s, who are generally at the center of production, continue to struggle to find work. Far fewer Koreans in the younger generation filled new jobs, with the majority going to people in the twilight of their working life. Another negative is that more than a fifth of the labor market, that's more than 6 million people, are contract workers. Credit card spending in Korea is expected to top 700 trillion won, or around $634 billion this year. According to data compiled by KB Financial Group, that's an increase of roughly 10 trillion won from last year, when the figure was an estimated 690 trillion won. The group said that despite their increased use, local credit card firms may not see a huge jump in their profitability compared to last year, largely due to a drop in the number of people getting cash advance services. I'm talking about individual card holders here. Since the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the government has encouraged credit card spending as a way of trying to boost domestic demand, and a great many Koreans use multiple cards, which has helped boost private spending over the past few years. Koreans' card spending is often regarded as a measure of private consumption. Now, fear is rising that Korea could be facing another foot and mouth disease crisis, as there have been more than 30 confirmed cases around the country since the first case was confirmed in Korea's Chuncheongbuk-do province last month. Holding an emergency meeting on Sunday, the Agriculture Ministry ordered that emergency vaccinations be given to livestock in areas where the disease has been reported, and there were also discussions on whether to start sterilizing vehicles that pass through infected areas, but a final decision on that was not reached during the meeting. Korea regained its status as a nation free of foot and mouth disease last year after more than 3 million livestock were culled after the disease broke out at the end of 2010. Now, Koreans love to eat noodles, but of all the varieties that are available, ramyeon is by far the most popular. Extremely simple to make and quick to eat. Korea eats more of the stuff than any other country in the world. And for this week's Industry Insight, our Shin Se-min delves into the country's instant noodle market.
The average Korean slurps up on 74 packets of ramyeon or instant noodles every year. Now that breaks down to 1 packet every 5 days. Now, Korean ramen companies are exporting their products to every corner of the world so you can have a taste of Korean ramyeon.
3 minutes is all you need to get it ready. Widely known for being packed with calories and carbohydrates, but still loved by the masses, Korean ramyeon is embedded in the culture. The concept of ramyeon was first introduced by Samyang Foods in the early 1960s as a means to feed those suffering from food shortages. The packet with high nutrition was a quick solution to many Koreans' malnourished stomachs. In the 60 years since, ramyeon has become a comfort food for many Koreans.
The flavor of ramyeon can be played around with. It's spicy and you can add in vegetables or seafood for a different taste. It's one of the reasons many consumers like Korean ramyeon.
Domestically, the ramyeon market grew to $1.8 billion, up 500 million in just past 5 years. Korean ramyeon makers didn't stop there. They're expanding overseas. The noodles can now be found in some 120 countries worldwide.
Ramyeon itself takes up 18% of all agricultural and food exports. A lot of factors come into play. The Korean wave is one. It caught on in the Chinese market, which is now the largest overseas consumer of Korean ramyeon.
The road to success hasn't been without obstacles. Various regulations in certain countries once kept ramyeon makers out of foreign markets. Take Turkey, for example. Samyang was barred from introducing its ramyeon product in the country due to Turkish regulations on the labeling of GMO food products. And in the U.S., strict food import regulations that contain beef hindered the export of Korean-made ramyeon. But that problem was solved by setting up a local factory.
Reaching out to different markets is always a challenge, but we continue to explore customers with different backgrounds. For instance, we are working on entering the African and European markets now.
Samyang Food Corporation wants ramyeon to become a household name throughout the world. And until the company is able to bypass the obstacles to entering the untapped markets, their experimentations with the flavors of Korean ramyeon that will suit foreign palates is an ongoing project. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Korean national football team who faced off against Saudi Arabia on Sunday in their final tune-up match before going into the 2015 Asian Cup. Now, despite manager Uli Stolke focused on the offense throughout the match, the Korean national team unable to find the back of the net in the first half, as the first goal comes in the 66th minute on an own goal by Saudi Arabia's Osama Hawasawi, giving Korea the 1-0 lead. But in the 90th minute, it's Booyah! Korea finally scores, and it's none other than Lee Jung-hyup, who scores in his national team debut match, giving Korea the 2-0 lead and the win. Meanwhile, Korea kicks off their Asian Cup group stage match against Oman this Saturday. And now moving over to figure skating, where the National Figure Skating Championship is set to take place at the Mokdong Ice Rink in Seoul this week. And giving out the medals on the final day will be figure queen Kim Yeon-ah. Now, with Kim Yeon-ah's kids competing at the national championships this week, Kim Yeon-ah, who's as cool as the other side of the pillow, will be on hand on the final day to give out the medals to the winners. It'll be a special moment here in the nation, since it'll be the first time she'll make an appearance at the domestic competition since her retirement in February. Now, Kim Yeon-ah, who has long been supportive of her juniors, have been visiting them once a week to give them pointers while continuing her education. Now, PGA's Bae Sang-moon's golf swings might be as cool as the other side of the pillow, but he might play his final golf tournament this week before heading over to military. Now, the 29-year-old, who has permanent residency in the States, was not granted an extension for overseas travel visa and is forced to serve his mandatory military service. And while the option to earn an American citizenship still remains open, the two-time PGA Tour winner knows it's an option that will cause problems later on. Meanwhile, Bae Sang-moon is set to compete at the Hyundai Tournament of Champions this week, as it might even be his final event before serving his military service. And now moving over to baseball, there's a little more than 2 weeks left until Nexen Heroes slugger Kang Jong-ho and the Pittsburgh Pirates need to finalize a deal. But with the lack of talk between the two sides, are the Pirates really interested in Kang Jong-ho? Well, with rumors coming out that the Pirates bid on Kang Jong-ho in order to prevent the other teams from signing him, his agent Alan Nero came out in an interview recently confirming that the Pirates are interested in signing Kang Jong-ho and that it's not a booyah move by the team. Now, despite the packed infield, the Pirates might look into trading Jordy Mercer for prospects, leaving the shortstop position open for Kang. But everyone in Korea have their fingers crossed, as they've already seen 2 KBO players fail to sign with a major league team this offseason. Now, finishing things off, you might have noticed my overuse of terms like booyah and as cool as the other side of the pillow today. Well, it's because Stuart Scott, who's made those catchphrases famous, passed away early Sunday morning after a long battle with cancer. Now, long considered as one of the most entertaining sportscasters, he was 49 years old and a proud father of 2 daughters. And with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Well, AM fog in many inland regions should gradually burn off as the morning goes on, and the sun should replace before rain drops later in the evening. So Seoul could receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall, while some parts in Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces could see snow due to freezing temperatures. But rain is expected for the most part, owing to the relatively mild conditions that we are going to have today, and some regions down south will see highs reaching into mid to upper teens this afternoon. So while Seoul will only see highs of 6 later in the day, Daegu and Gwangju should peak at 12 and 11, and Busan will top out at 15 later in the afternoon. And as for the other regions, spring-like temperatures are in store for Jeju Island, rising to 18, and Daejeon and Dokdo will be getting up to 9 and 10 respectively. Now, you might want to enjoy this mildness while you can, because things will get icy cold cold again as the week moves on. Lows will be dropping to near -10 degrees Celsius here in the capital in the midweek. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. There are plenty more stories online, and we'll be back again at noon Korea time with our next newscast. So until then, goodbye.